Why B2B SEO has become a sales problem, not just a marketing task. Outbound is getting noisier, inboxes are crowded, and decision makers are harder to reach. At the same time, the prospects who convert best usually arrive already educated, already curious, and already comparing options. In practice, that education almost always starts in search. For many B2B websites, organic search accounts for 50 to 70% of total traffic, which is why SEO belongs in the same conversation as pipeline coverage and SDR capacity planning. When you add paid search, search overall can represent roughly 76% of B2B website traffic, which means being invisible isn't a branding issue, it's a demand capture gap. Our view at SalesHive is simple. If you want a predictable calendar, you need predictable intent. SEO is one of the cleanest ways to capture that intent at scale, then hand it to a revenue system that can convert it into meetings, whether you run an in-house team, work with an SDR agency, or leverage sales outsourcing to keep follow-up tight. How search behavior translates into pipeline quality. Most B2B buyers don't begin with vendor names, they begin with problems. Research commonly shows about 71% of buyers start with a generic search query, which is exactly why early visibility matters. If you don't show up for problem framing and solution discovery, you're trying to introduce yourself after the shortlist is already forming. SEO-driven leads also tend to behave differently than pure outbound prospects. One benchmark frequently cited is a 14.6% conversion rate for SEO leads versus roughly 1.7% for outbound-only efforts, largely because search visitors are self-qualifying as they read, compare, and validate their requirements. In other words, SEO doesn't replace cold calling services or a cold email agency. It makes them warmer, faster, and more efficient. Content is a big part of that qualification loop. Nearly 47% of B2B buyers consume 3 to 5 pieces of content before speaking to sales, and that content is often discovered through Google. If your site doesn't offer credible answers to the questions buyers are asking, your reps are forced to sell from scratch instead of picking up the conversation midstream. Why outsourcing B2B SEO usually beats DIY, unless you have senior SEO leadership. Modern B2B SEO is not write a few blogs and wait. A real program includes technical SEO, crawlability, internal linking, core web vitals, intent-based keyword strategy, conversion-focused content, and authority building that doesn't put your domain at risk. That's a multi-skill discipline, and it's rare for one generalist marketer to cover it well. Outsourcing works because it gives you a full-stack team and proven operating rhythm on day one: strategy, content production, technical execution guidance, and reporting, without having to hire several roles. It also reduces the common internal bottleneck where SEO dies in a backlog because nobody can translate an audit into sprint-ready tickets that engineering will actually ship. There's also a competitive reality. Around 68% of B2B companies report having a dedicated SEO team or in-house specialist. If competitors are investing like that and you're treating SEO as a side project, you're choosing to lose share of voice in the exact channel where buyers self-identify intent. How to evaluate an SEO agency like you'd evaluate a revenue hire. The fastest way to avoid getting burned is to stop shopping for SEO deliverables and start hiring for outcomes. A serious partner should ask about your ICP, ACV, sales cycle length, and the objections that stall deals, not just how many keywords you want. If the conversation is stuck on rankings without a pipeline model, you're looking at a vendor, not a growth partner. Ask for proof that matches your world. B2B case studies in your ACV range, examples of bottom-of-funnel pages that drove SQLs, and a clear plan for tying SEO to CRM attribution. It's also worth aligning on time horizons. In competitive markets, you typically see meaningful lifts in 3 to 6 months, and more reliable meeting volume in 6 to 12 months, so your reporting needs to track leading indicators and revenue metrics in parallel. To keep the relationship objective, we recommend setting expectations with structured targets that sales can understand. The table below shows one practical KPI framework we use when we're aligning inbound intent with an outbound sales agency motion. Operationalizing SEO so it produces meetings, not just traffic. The most important implementation move is to build a closed loop between what buyers search, what your site publishes, and what your revenue team works. That starts with mapping keywords to stages: problem-aware education, solution comparisons, vendor evaluations, and best for use cases that mirror real buying committees. In many datasets, organic search alone drives about 62% of B2B web traffic, so even small conversion rate improvements on high-intent pages can meaningfully change your meeting volume. Next, treat technical SEO as a first-quarter priority, not a someday project. Site speed, crawl paths, internal linking, and mobile experience determine whether your content can rank and whether buyers will stick around long enough to convert. The practical approach is to have your outsourced experts deliver a prioritized, sprint-ready set of fixes in the first 60 to 90 days so your dev team can execute without endless back and forth. Finally, integrate SEO into your outbound system. When high-intent pages go live, comparisons, alternatives, pricing guidance, implementation checklists, those assets should instantly become part of SDR talk tracks and sequences. That's where SalesHive often fits. As a B2B sales agency with an outsourced sales team motion, we help teams turn search intent into a target account workflow through calling, email, and LinkedIn follow-up so interest doesn't die in analytics. Common mistakes that stall growth and how to fix them. The most expensive mistake is treating SEO like a one-off project. Teams do an audit, publish a burst of content, then stop. Rankings decay, competitors reclaim positions, and the inbound trickle never becomes a dependable channel. The fix is simple. Commit to an ongoing program with quarterly roadmaps, KPI reviews, and a standing agenda slot in revenue meetings the same way you'd review outbound activity. Another trap is choosing the cheapest vendor and expecting enterprise outcomes. Low-cost providers often rely on generic content and questionable link tactics that don't compete in B2B and can create real downside if they trigger penalties or brand trust issues. Evaluate your SEO partner the way you would when you hire SDRs or choose between SDR agencies. Require relevant case studies, clear SLAs, and metrics tied to SQLs and pipeline rather than "we published X blogs." The final mistake is siloing SEO from sales execution. Even if marketing drives strong traffic, it doesn't turn into pipeline unless SDRs know what content is resonating and which accounts are engaging. The fix is a monthly operating rhythm where the SEO partner, marketing ops, and sales leadership review what's working, then translate it into outbound plays, especially useful if you run a cold calling agency model, B2B cold calling services, or any outbound sales agency approach that benefits from real-time intent signals. Advanced moves, turning SEO insights into outbound leverage. Once the foundation is in place, the biggest win is using SEO performance data as sales intelligence. High-converting pages reveal which pain points are urgent, which industries are most responsive, and which objections require clearer answers. That insight can reshape your messaging across cold emails, call openers, and follow-up sequences, and it's exactly how a sales development agency can make outbound feel less interruptive and more relevant. A practical tactic is to run quarterly theme campaigns that align content and outbound under one narrative, one vertical, one high-value use case, and one set of bottom-of-funnel pages built to convert. As those pages begin ranking, you can mirror the same language in your cadence steps and route the most engaged accounts into a tighter follow-up track. This approach also supports list building services and B2B list building services because the personas engaging with specific pages can inform what your targeting should look like. At this stage, the right KPI isn't more sessions, it's efficiency. Meetings per 1,000 visits, pipeline per content cluster, and win rate for SEO-assisted opportunities. It's worth remembering that 81% of B2B marketers say SEO has a major impact on leads, sales, and revenue, which reinforces the point. SEO is not a content calendar project. It's a revenue system that should be measured like one. Next steps: a simple plan to outsource SEO and build compounding pipeline. Start by grounding the conversation in your real baseline. Pull the last 6 to 12 months of meetings booked and closed-won deals. Then identify which ones originated or re-engaged through organic search. When an agency sees your current conversion paths and deal economics, they can prioritize the work that will actually move revenue instead of chasing generic traffic. Then, define a small set of KPIs that finance and sales will respect. Organic sourced meetings per month, organic sourced SQLs, SEO attributed pipeline, and win rate for SEO originated opportunities. Make sure tracking is clean in your CRM and insist that your outsourced partner reports in business terms, not just marketing terms. This is also the moment to plan for execution capacity, whether that's in-house SDRs, an SDR agency, sales outsourcing, or an outsourced sales team that can follow up consistently. Finally, commit to the long game while engineering short-term wins. In most B2B categories, you should expect 3 to 6 months for meaningful visibility shifts and 6 to 12 months for consistent pipeline. But a sharp partner can still drive early results by targeting bottom-of-funnel keywords, improving conversion paths, and shipping technical fixes quickly. When SEO and Outbound are coordinated, your team isn't hoping someone finds you. You're building a repeatable system where search creates demand signals and your reps convert them into booked conversations.